gonna share with you my rules for my teen during the school year. Number 1, first is you're not allowed to watch any TV or play any games on your phone Monday to Thursday. Asana, tell Appa that you had a 50 on your science test.
50? Why are you laughing?
You're not gonna be able to play on your phone. You're not gonna be able to watch any TV, and not gonna be able to eat caviar. We can do periodical phone checks. I have Verizon Family Plus, which also monitors what your kids are doing. Of course, we want to keep them safe.
I got a 91 on this.
Wait, what'd you do here? What happened here? Do you know why you missed them?
No.
Did you figure out why you missed them?
I'm an iPad mom. Of course I let my toddler have this first thing in the morning so I can wake up.
I'm calling out all the parents. If you're a parent and your child is in pre-K to elementary school to high school, I'm calling you out.
Right now, kids are learning how to swipe a screen before they even learn how to speak properly. Toddlers are walking around with iPads. YouTube is permanently on autoplay, and attention span seems to be shrinking every single year. Teachers across the West are all saying the same thing. Reading levels are dropping. Students struggle to focus the way they used to. Classrooms are harder to manage than they were years ago. And somehow, in the middle of all of that, the word discipline has almost become controversial.
It truly fascinates me how much we have demonized teaching kids a lifelong skill that will allow them to become lifelong learners. And listen, I'm not a parent by any means, but I know how my parents parented me and my brother, and it is one of the things that I will always take forward with me. Anytime you learn something new, there is a point from when you start to getting to the point of comfortability. That is called attrition. You need to push past the uncomfortableness to get to the point of actually enjoying doing something.
Every conversation about kids eventually circles back to gentle parenting, and sometimes gentle parenting just ends up meaning that there are no real limits at all. Then you have Vidya, hopefully I'm pronouncing her name well, who is known on TikTok and Instagram as Queen City Trends. And you also have her husband, whose name is Rakesh, but the internet calls him Pookesh. Between the two of them, they have built an audience of almost 5 million people who watch their parenting style online. And let me tell you, people have a lot to say about it. Their household is structured, and I mean very structured. Academic success is a huge priority in their home. Screen time is limited. Rules are clear, and those rules are actually enforced, not treated like they are casual suggestions that kids can debate their way out of. Some people look at that and feel very relieved because to them it feels refreshing. It even feels necessary. Like finally, we are seeing parents who have not completely abandoned what structure in a home looks like.
Watching these videos of Vidya and her kids and their grades is always so funny and interesting to me because the comments are full of people saying, oh, you're being too harsh on them. They're not. Like in the last video that I saw, their dad was like, anything under an 85 is unacceptable. In my house growing up, it was anything under a 90. Like my sister and I would get 80s, 88s, 89s even on tests and homework, and we would cry about it. The first semester of my freshman year of high school, I made honor roll and not high honor roll because I had an 89 in math instead of an A, and my mom got mad at me. The fact that they're able to talk about this and be open about it and laugh is actually so healthy. And like my parents aren't even immigrants. My parents were born and raised in this country. My grandparents are the immigrants, so I'm like second generation. This is millennial parenting. This is millennial and Gen Z parenting for Asian Americans.
But other people watch the same videos and feel very uncomfortable. They think Vidya and Rakesh are too strict. They think they are too rigid and too controlling. They believe that this kind of environment will eventually harm the children rather than help them. And that is where things just start to get complicated, because this conversation is not really about one family. It is about something much deeper. It is about what different cultures consider normal expectations for children. It is about whether pushing kids hard prepares them for life or slowly wears them down. It is about whether we are raising people who can sit still long enough to think, or people who cannot exist for 5 minutes without some kind of distraction. There is also another layer that people rarely talk about. When your parenting becomes your content and your children become part of your brand, the whole conversation changes. Are we actually watching a genuine example of a disciplined household, or are we watching a version of discipline that has been cleaned up and curated for social media? The line between documenting your family life and building a business around your children is extremely thin, much thinner than most people do realize. People react so strongly to Vidya and Rakesh because they hit several nerves at the same time. There is a fear that academic standards are declining. There is a quiet guilt that many parents feel about their own parenting choices. There are cultural differences about what behavior is considered normal for children. There is also the pressure to give your child every possible advantage in an increasingly competitive world. And there is also that uneasy feeling that the world is becoming louder, faster, and more distracting than ever before. And none of us actually knows what kind of child would be best equipped to survive in that environment. So no, this is not just a debate about whether Vidya and Rakesh are too strict with their kids. It's really a bigger conversation and a bigger question about what children actually need today. Does structure protect children, or does it just add another layer of pressure? Does discipline build character, or does it quietly create resentment over time? And underneath all of it is an uncomfortable truth. Most of us are figuring out the answers to these questions in real time. But that being said, let me introduce myself. Hi guys, my name is Jewel and welcome to my channel. On this channel, I speak about whatever I want to speak about. I do deep dives, documentary, social commentary, reactions, whatever suits my interest. I just speak about it. So if this is your vibe and if you'd want to see me next week, kindly like, share, subscribe if you care. And I really do hope you care. But that being said, let's get into this video. Okay guys, before we get into this video, this is my third time recording this video. First time I recorded it, one file, 30 minutes was corrupted. Second time I recorded it, my hair was everywhere and I did not realize that my hair was just everywhere and I was like, what the fuck? And that was yesterday. And today is the third time I'm recording it. Why I'm saying this is because the first time I recorded it, I and my girlfriend actually spoke about this. We had like a conversation in regard to how we would raise our children. So we had a conversation about that during the end of my recording. She's not going to be on camera because first of all, she was very, very sick. So she was like off camera, but it was a very meaningful conversation. You would still hear her voice. We spoke about all of this. So I just hope that you watch to the end so that you would catch that conversation. But apart from that, thank you guys so much and let's get straight into this video. And we are back to our kind of not original background but second original background. And I don't know, I created this just for recording, but kind of I just liked using the back of my kitchen, but I'm flexible, whatever suits my interest. Sometimes I would be in my room because I used to be in my room early on. But anyways, guys, let's get straight into this video. Part 1. Who are Vidya and Pookesh? Vidya Gopalan is an Indian-American lifestyle creator who is based in Charlotte, North Carolina. She grew up in Phoenix, went on to attend the University of Arizona, and then she studied marketing. But the funny part is that marketing was not even her original plan. She actually started out studying pharmacy, and that only changed after her father encouraged her to move towards business instead, which eventually led her into marketing. After graduating, she moved to Plano, Texas for a corporate retail job, and around that period of her life, she met the person who would later become her husband, Rakesh, who at that time was already living in North Carolina. Fashion had always been something that she cared about deeply. It was not something that she randomly discovered later in life. Vidya had said that she got her first job at McDonald's when she was just 14 years old, just so that she could afford to shop for clothes and live her fashion dreams. And according to her, that interest really stood out in her family. She once explained that no one else around her was particularly interested in fashion. Her dad is an economist, her sister became a doctor, and her mother was a stay-at-home mom. But when she came to the United States and started paying attention to how people dressed, it really did fascinate her. She described it as something that had always been inside of her. So, fashion was not some accidental hobby that she stumbled into. It was something that she intentionally pursued from a very young age, even though it was not really part of the environment that she grew up in. For more than 10 years, she worked in the corporate world as a retail buyer. Eventually, she stepped away from that career to become a full-time stay-at-home mom. And that shift is what opened the door to everything that came after. During that period, she started her Instagram page. She started posting fashion, food, family life, and general lifestyle content. There is one small detail that is a bit odd though, because I went through Vidya's Instagram. She has a lot of videos and pictures. So I went through it. So basically, Vidya had told South Park magazine that she had launched her platform in 2017, but her Instagram account did not actually go live until April 2018. That could just be a simple mistake, or maybe she was just counting the period where she first started planning the account. Either way, there was roughly a year between the idea and the public launch. There is another small inconsistency as well. In that same interview, she said her first post was a fanny pack that she had bought on Amazon before a trip to Cancun, and that is actually not what appears on her account. Her first post is a photo of her holding onto a tree in Charlotte, and the first video she ever posted shows her using a hot brush to straighten her hair. So the origin story that she told in the interview does not perfectly match what is on her page, but honestly, that kind of thing happens all the time. People misremember the early stages of things that they've built. But yeah, literally, I can stalk you to the ends of the earth if I want to. Like, there's a time that I went to Nicki Minaj first post on Instagram. That was last year when her head was still correct. But yeah, the bigger point is that the strategy worked. She started posting every day because she had heard other content creators saying that consistency was everything. So she took their advice seriously. Over time, the following grew. The content became much more polished, and what started as a creative outlet just slowly became something that that grew into an actual career. Is it metamorphed? Metamorphed. The hell? I've forgotten. Then 2021 changed everything. One video she made with her daughter in New York just went viral, and that moment just shifted the direction of her platform. After that, she leaned much more heavily into mommy and me content, outfit of the day videos, and small glimpses into their daily life. The more personal the content became, the more her audience grew, and that part of the story becomes much more important later. Her husband Rakesh Gopalan works in an entirely different world. He is a lawyer and a partner at Troutman Pepper, which is a large national law firm. His work focuses on security law, corporate governance, and technology transactions. He advises companies on things like IPOs, compliance, and major mergers. In other words, it is high stake, high pressure legal work, and together they are raising 2 children, their teenage daughter Sahana and their younger son. The family is South Indian Tamil, and they have openly talked about wanting their children to stay connected to their Indian heritage while also growing up within the opportunities that exist in the United States. So one thing I noticed while going through their TikTok is the balance that they have between their cultural identity and American ambition, and this shows up throughout their content. And when you look closely at their lives, it is also very pretty clear that this is a very successful family. They're not pretending to be successful for social media. Rakesh has a genuinely impressive legal career. Vidya built a platform that reaches millions of people. I mean, Vidya doesn't even know how the mortgage gets paid because her husband pays it on auto pay.
Hey, babe. I want to tell you that I won't be able to pay the mortgage this month.
I always pay.
What?
It's auto pay.
No, but I won't be able to actually physically pay it this month. Like, it's not going to happen.
That's fine, because I always pay it anyway.
But I wanted to pay it, and I can't pay it.
But
You don't even know how to pay. You don't even know who our mortgage company is.
if you can't pay it, Upper will pay it.
Really, I'm gonna try to pay it next month.
Pay what? Where? Who are you gonna pay?
I'm gonna pay the mortgage guys.
The mortgage guys.
Or I could buy a house and pay a mortgage. How about that?
No, we're not buying a new house.
Have you been drinking? Something is happening. I handle the finances and bookkeeping of the house, and bills and payments. And
I do too.
Buying things is not part of finances.
I pay for things that I buy.
Okay.
I don't
finances
know.
and investments. And
I don't know anything about mortgages, so
Yeah.
if you leave me.
So in several of their videos, you can see them just hosting dinners with friends who appear to work in high earning fields like finance, technology, law. Their social circle is made up of professionals who are clearly doing well in their own careers, even if they are content creators. So regardless of whether someone agrees with their parenting style or not, one thing is very, very obvious. Education, discipline, and strong career ambitions are values that run through almost every part of their lives. And that brings us to part 2, the Gen Alpha literacy crisis. And here I'm going to speak about a generation that cannot read. Back in 2024, I made a video talking about Gen Alpha and the issue with reading levels, and the comments absolutely blew up. The point I made in the video was actually very simple. A lot of kids are struggling to read. Teachers are overwhelmed trying to deal with it in the classroom. And many of them feel like there is very little reinforcement happening at home. One comment from a teacher really stuck with me because it captured the situation perfectly. I don't remember, this video was going viral, and the first place I saw it was on Shade Room, and I spoke about it in my 2024 video. So basically, this teacher, she was in the car and she said that she had students who could recite the entire lyrics to Sexy Red word for word. They could say every line, they did not hesitate. And obviously, we know that these lyrics are not made for children. But those same students could not read properly, they could not tell time, and they could not sit through a 30-minute lesson without completely checking out.
I'm calling out all the parents. If you're a parent and your child is in pre-K to elementary school to high school, I'm calling you out. The children today, I have never experienced, and I'm 22. Having to teach and work with you guys as children has been the most traumatic experience of my life. I teach 5-year-olds ballet. 5-year-old girls ballet. I have a class of 10 students. They don't respect any authority. You ask them, can you stand in your designated spot? They're telling you no and shut up. They're throwing things at each other. They're throwing things at other people, other classmates. You say, can everybody sit in their spot? I don't want to. I'm not doing that. You don't get to tell me what to do. You're not my mom. You confront the parent. The parent tries to argue with you and fuss at you because you tried to reprimand and redirect their kid. I told a young little girl, please sit in your spot. You're not my mom. You don't tell me what to do. Okay. When her mom came to pick her up, I said, hey, your daughter's having a hard time following instructions. And 7 times today, I've had to redirect her to just sit in her spot. Well, clearly she didn't want to sit. And mind you, this is a mom. Clearly she didn't want to sit right there. So, I mean, if she's telling you she don't want to do something, why keep asking her to do it? You know she's not going to do it. What world do we live in? Like, what in you guys' brain as a parent says, my kid not following any directions is a great thing. It's not that serious, and y'all don't have a right to tell her what to do. It's sad. It's sad. It's really, really sad. And another thing that's heart-wrenching is horrifying. It is horrifying. Your 5-year-old daughters are asking to listen to Pound Town and Ski Yee. Your daughters, your 5-year-old daughters are asking, can we hear Pound Town? I'm playing them Princess Tiana ballet music. And they are asking me, can we hear Pound? I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I'm so scared for these little girls today because this is the most insane agenda push I have ever seen in my life. We do freeze dance. You guys' daughters are twerking at 5. 5. Where's the parenting? Where's the boundaries? Where's the help? Y'all are not helping your kids. You're hurting them. You guys are hurting them. I come every day dressed, ready to go, and I'm in school too. I'm in college. I mean, I put bows in my hair. I'm wearing leotards. I'm trying to get them interested in like proper things for their age, and you guys are exposing your kids to this raunchy secular music. Why is you guys' 5-year-old's daughter singing Pound Town? And it's just really, 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 it's upsetting.
And before anyone assumes that this is just one teacher exaggerating in a TikTok video, it really is not. There's been educators that have been raising these concerns for years. The difference is that when teachers speak online, outside of official reports and polite language, the honesty comes out much more clearly. There are actual statistics that have backed this up as well. So in 2022, there was a National Assessment of Educational Progress in the United States that showed reading scores dropping to some of the lowest levels that they have seen in decades. Around 2/3 of students were performing below proficiency in reading. That is a large-scale problem. This is not just happening in America. Even the United Kingdom is dealing with something very similar. A 2026 report showed that nearly every 2-year-old is spending hours a day in front of screens, with the average daily screen time already exceeding 2 hours. Even more concerning, about 38% of children between the ages of 3 and 5 already using social media before they can even properly get dressed on their own. Reception teachers are now describing 4-year-olds who struggle to sit still, struggle to hold a pencil, and sometimes struggle to form complete sentences. One teacher even explained that some children become visibly frustrated when something does not respond immediately. If the activity is not fast, if it's not loud, if it's not colorful and instantly rewarding, these children, they lose interest almost immediately. About 2 weeks ago, or was it last week, there was a report that schools in the UK are switching analog clocks for digital clocks because children can no longer tell time, which honestly is very, very alarming. So when you look at that pattern, it just starts to make sense. For a lot of children today, the very first form of interaction that they learn is swiping a screen. The issue is that reading is not just another school subject that you tick off on a timetable. Reading is the foundation of everything that you need to know in this life. If a child cannot properly read, it affects every other area of learning. They struggle to understand history texts, they struggle to understand science explanations, and even mathematical questions that have been written in full sentences. They cannot follow written instructions independently. They miss out on getting absorbed in stories that help to build empathy and imagination, and they lose the ability to focus long enough to really think about something very, very deeply. So when people look at Vidya's content and ask whether limiting screen time and pushing reading is so strict, the bigger context really matters. When you compare that parenting style to a reality where swiping is becoming the main way that children interact with the world and where large numbers of kids are struggling to read, it suddenly does not look extreme at all. It actually looks pretty reasonable. Now, you can still criticize the tone of the message. You can disagree with how the message is delivered, but choosing books over endless scrolling in 2026 is not some radical parenting philosophy. Personally, I believe that it's a very rational one. And that brings us to part 3, what Vidya is doing right. It's very clear that Vidya hasn't been vague about the rules in her home. In general, during the school year, she prohibits television and phone gaming from Monday through Thursday with a bit of leeway here and there, but generally, that's the baseline. So in Vidya's home, school comes first, then after school is structure. Vidya's kids always pack their bags for the next school day the night before, and if they forget anything, she won't drive back home to drop whatever items that they forgot off. Honestly, that one is definitely a heavy load with 8 passengers, and I'm not even gonna lie about that. But anyways, when her kids do homework, there are no phones involved. Phones don't go into the bedroom after bedtime. She regularly checks their phones, so does her husband. So basically, they use Verizon, which provides parental monitoring of what children are doing on their phones. Recently, she has allowed her children to bring phones to school because they were not allowed before. The reason why she did that is because of what's going on in America with school shooting and all of that. But she also acknowledged that in class they would not use the phone anyway. But that's the only reason why her and her husband decided to allow the children to take phones to school. Yes, in this household there is an expectation of A's, which, to put it into perspective, I'm not gonna lie, this is somewhat controversial. She has admitted that children will make mistakes, but the great expectations never changes due to how difficult the work may become. This is also where the debates begin regarding the screen time limitations. Device access is restricted. Typically, when her children are using a device, they are playing Tetris, Math app, or they are doing Kumon, which honestly Vidya has publicly endorsed on almost all her videos on TikTok and Instagram. So basically, her children, they do not spend hours on TikTok. They are not mindlessly browsing through social media sites.
Get ready with me, let's chat. I'm gonna share with you my rules for my teen during the school year. Number 1, first is you're not allowed to watch any TV or play any games on your phone Monday to Thursday. Obviously, there's some flexibility to these rules. She's obsessed with The Summer I Turned Pretty, so she got to watch the new episode yesterday. But generally, no TV. Number 2, you have to pack everything that you need the night before for school. Change of clothes for sports, water bottle, iPad, homework. If you forget it, I will not be dropping it off. I think this teaches them responsibility. Number 3, this is really important for us. No phones near you when you're doing your homework. It's such a big distraction. Keep getting text messages and Snapchats, you are not going to be able to focus. Yesterday, she had a couple hours of homework to do and her phone stayed downstairs. Number 4, and this might be controversial, expect the kids to get A's. Are they going to stumble here and there? Of course. But the expectation is to do really well in school. Absolutely no phone in your bedroom. Phone does not stay charged in your room when you go to sleep. Have a charging station in the mudroom where the kids keep their phones at night. Sleep takes priority. This might be another controversial one. We can do periodical phone checks. I have Verizon Family Plus, which also monitors what your kids are doing. Of course, we want to keep them safe. I think a lot of parents do this, and I think it is very important. This doesn't exactly apply to my daughter just yet. You must always share your location on your phone. And I've heard in the past that sometimes it gets turned off by teens. Pretty simple, but it must always stay on. Personally, I don't think any of these rules are really that strict. I want to hear from you guys if you had similar rules like this, and if there's anything else that I am missing that I should add to this list. I'm gonna go get changed. Love you guys.
It wasn't until last year, August 2025, that Vidya would allow her daughter to use Snapchat, and even then, Vidya needed to follow her daughter on the app. Many parents consider this behaviorally controlling. Many other parents find it perfectly acceptable. There was a video that received quite a bit of attention online. Her kids were reading books prior to takeoff, and Vidya made a light-hearted comment regarding strict parents making you to read prior to your vacation. The internet responded as though something heinous had occurred. However, there's this TikTok, her name is Saron Yitbarek. Hopefully I'm pronouncing her name well. So basically this TikToker essentially said or asked this question. She was like, what exactly is the issue here? These kids can read, they can think, they get to go on vacation. And you know what? She was right. That response to Vidya's post is absolutely telling of the direction that our culture has headed.
Vidya posted this. It says that you're on vacation, but your strict parents make you read before takeoff. Tell me why her comment section is filled with people hating. What the fuck is wrong with you people? They're raising their children to be competent, intellectually stimulated, literate, critical thinking adults, and they're still taking them on vacation. If you think that making them read before takeoff, before they get to some island vacation, where they'll like scuba dive and fucking swim with the dolphins, if you think that that's like abuse, you should not have children. You shouldn't have children. Your child will be left behind. This is why students are showing up to college unable to write a complete sentence. I don't understand these new parents. You guys revel in raising little dumbasses. Why do people no longer care if their children are smart? Not only do you not give a fuck about whether anything is going on up there with your child, you want to tell a parent who's actually doing the right thing to slow their roll? Shut up. Shut up.
The comment section was mixed. Someone stated, these kids are taking a first-class flight and going skiing while reading. Another person stated, what if they're pretending to read for social media? Which, I'm not gonna lie, is an honest statement to say. We all know that social media isn't real life. However, when you look at actual research, Vidya's practices aren't on the extremes of most research. The American Psychological Association conducted a massive review of 117 students involving over 292,000 children children worldwide. The results were very disturbing. Increased amounts of screen times correlate with increased amounts of emotional and behavioral issues such as anxiety, depression, aggression, and hyperactivity. And it gets worse. When children are feeling low, they often turn to screens to improve their mood, and ultimately the screens make them feel worse. The Indian Academics of Pediatrics recommends that children less than 2 years old have no screen time at all. Children aged 2 to 5 should have at least 1 hour of screen time per day, and this needs to be supervised. Children aged between 5 to 10 should have no more than 2 hours of screen time per day. Therefore, when people say that Vidya's approach is extreme, it is worth examining what they are comparing it to. Compared to what most homes currently look like, compared to what pediatricians have recommended for years, Vidya's approach is relatively consistent with recommendations. The rules that seem strict to some people are by medical standards closer to the recommendations for most families. And that brings us to part 4, the curse of gentle parenting. You cannot really talk about Vidya's parenting style without zooming out and looking at the bigger conversation around parenting, because that is the environment that this entire debate sits inside. The original idea behind gentle parenting was never about letting kids run the house. At its core, gentle parenting was supposed to be warm but firm. You acknowledge a child's feelings, you explain your reasoning, but the boundary between you and your child still exists. The rule still stands, and in many ways, it is not that different from traditional structured parenting. It just has softer language and more emotional awareness. The problem is what happened when social media got a hold of this term called gentle parenting. Online, the idea has drifted into something very different. What a lot of people now call gentle parenting looks more like constant negotiation, endless explanation, and a real fear of saying no and actually meaning no.
I'm an iPad mom. Of course I let my toddler have this first thing in the morning so I can wake up. I'm an iPad mom. Of course when she cries for it, I give it to her. I'm an iPad mom. Of course I let her stay up late and watch it. In all seriousness, I got this from the TikTok shop, and I just have to tell you guys, this has been great for my toddler. It really has been a saving grace for me. And it came with the case. It already has a screen protector on it. I did not put that on here. They did. You can make it a kid one, okay? Set up their little person, get their little apps. It's got some learning games, Sesame Street, all kinds of stuff on there. And fun little things like, why did the snickerdoodle get straight A's?
Why did the snickerdoodle get straight A's?
Let's find out. I don't know why.
Because it was one smart cookie.
Because it was one smart cookie. So, anyways, be an iPad mom.
A 2024 study even found that about 1/3 of parents who identify as gentle parents report feeling high levels of burnout. Many of them also admitted that they were not even sure if what they were doing was working. A lot of that pressure appears to come from parenting influencers on social media. These creators speak with absolute confidence about child development, yet many of them have no formal training in it at all. So parents end up chasing this perfectly polished version of parenting that they see online. And when their real life does not look like that curated version, they start to feel like they are failing. The problem is that when gentle parenting slowly slides into permissive parenting, the results are rarely what people expect. High warmth combined with weak boundaries do not usually produce calm, emotionally secure children. There's been research that has tended to show the opposite. Kids raised in environments with lots of warmth but very little structure often struggle with emotional regulation. They show less self-discipline, they show more anxiety, and they have a harder time coping when somebody or someone finally does set limits for them. There is a huge difference between respecting a child's emotions and allowing those emotions to run the entire household. And right now, that line is becoming harder and harder to see in a lot of families. I recently saw a video that really stuck with me. Not recently, but that was like, I think last year or 2 years ago. So basically, a mother openly explained that whenever her child cried or threw a tantrum, her solution was a screen. Tantrum tablet, whining, phone. But how does a child ever learn to deal with frustration if the moment gets handed over to an algorithm every time things get uncomfortable? Research published in Frontiers in Child and Adolescent Psychiatry touches on this exact issue. When screens are consistently used to soothe children or stop discomfort, kids do not actually learn how to sit with difficult emotions. Over time, their ability to regulate themselves gets worse and not better. In a lot of ways, the screen has become the modern version of the dummy. The difference is that a dummy eventually disappears as a child grows up, but screens do the opposite. They upgrade themselves and become much more embedded in daily life. So today you could buy your child an iPhone 12, tomorrow you buy your child an iPhone 15. That's literally how it works. So when Vidya removes that option from her household and people react like she's being harsh, what they're really reacting to is something unfamiliar. A household where kids are expected to tolerate boredom. A household where frustration does not immediately get solved with a screen. A household where children sometimes have to figure out how to entertain themselves. Those are internal skills.
You want to know what kids do when they're not allowed to use their phones during the week? They play outside. Having fun?
You cannot download patience. You cannot install creativity as an app. The ability to solve problems, sit with boredom and entertain yourself develops when kids actually get the space to practice those things. Let kids be bored. And this is something that my girlfriend even actually spoke about, which is so weird because she did not know the topic I was speaking about beforehand. And she mentioned that boredom is so essential for a child. This again is not something that I'm saying out of theory. It's not a theoretical idea to me. I have seen it play out in real time. I have a 10-year-old sister. My sister has a phone, but her screen time during the week is limited. She can only use it after school, after she has finished her homework, read, eaten, and had a shower. Yes, that's when she can use it. Her screen time cuts off at 7:50 p.m. and then she goes to bed at 8. Weekends are much more relaxed for her. And you know what? She's not miserable. She's not socially isolated. She regularly gets star of the week at school. She reads well above her level. She handles mathematics confidently. She draws. She makes jewelry. Last time I checked, she was learning how to cook meals by herself. And at one point, she decided that she wanted to be a teacher. So, you know what she did? She started practicing by teaching her friends things that she had learned. She literally tutors them. Sometimes she teaches her dolls. So she has so many dolls. So she tutors her dolls things that she has learned. Her imagination is incredible. I could hand her 2 dolls and ask her to come up with a story on the spot. And she would immediately start creating a story. And you would be so immersed in it that you think it's been a script that has been written long ago or that has been pre-written. And she has been doing that since she was 2 years old. She has even started learning basic video editing and she has started experimenting with making animation. And there's this thing called toga. I don't know if you guys know it. I just knew it from her. So there's a time she made a video of what she thinks that her teacher does before coming to work. And literally, it's not something that was pre-written. She literally did it on the spot. She speaks about several things using toga, if that makes sense. So you guys, I'm in bed editing. It's currently 12:48 a.m. and actually it's not toga, it's tokaboka. I googled toga and I was like, wait, when I googled toga, it was something else I was seeing on Google. And I was like, what? So after so much research on Google, it's actually tokaboka, not toga. Yeah, I'm sure people will be like, what the fuck is toga? It's tokaboka. Yeah. That's embarrassing, but yeah, tokaboka. Literally. No one forced her into all of that. She just had enough free time to explore something and she became very curious. That is what boredom looks like when you actually allow it to exist. When kids stay bored long enough, they stop looking for someone else to entertain them and they start creating things themselves. And my own experience growing up sits on the opposite side of that story. I was always considered an average student, but not because I lacked ability. I was just never taught in a way that matched how my brain actually worked. Subjects like mathematics, accounting, and chemistry, they rely heavily on very specific kind of sequential logic, and I struggled with them very badly. I don't know if that is tautology, very badly or badly. I think that's tautology. I struggled with them badly, but English, literature, creative writing, those were completely different. I thrived there. I never got below a B in literature, not once. Looking back now, the signs of neurodivergence, ADHD, and all of that, they were sitting there in plain sight. yet. Nobody recognized them. I was not diagnosed. So because I was not diagnosed, there were no adjustments for me. It was just that constant comparison in the background, wondering why something that seemed easy for everyone else just felt so difficult for me. But creatively, my mind was always active. I wrote my first book when I was just 12 years old, and it was called The Crystal Ball. I still remember the entire story. I just don't know where the book is because we have moved like I think twice since then. But the imagination was there. The ability was there. It was just not being supported in the right way. And I used to say I wish my dad like really invested in the creative side of me. I would have been a star, like literally. I used to write blogs when I was younger. I used to write like stories about I and like my cousin, and I used to write like normal stories like that one could just sit and read. I'm sure if you type my name on Google, you'll see the blog. I have to. I loved reading novels because they sharpened my creativity and they gave me somewhere to go. The real issue is that parents often do not challenge their children in the right ways. Sometimes they push too hard in areas that do not match how that kid's minds work. So most of the time, it does not come from lack of care. It comes from understanding the child standing in front of them. Children do not arrive with instruction manuals, and no parenting philosophy can teach you the most important skill, which is figuring out whether your child needs more structure or simply a different kind of structure. That is a real challenge. Not choosing between being strict or flexible, but literally learning how to read your child well enough to understand what they actually need from you. And that requires more than just following a parenting trend. It requires awareness, flexibility, and the willingness to just adjust your approach, even when you thought that you had it completely right. And that brings us to part 6. Is this another 8 passengers? One of the biggest criticisms aimed at Vidya and Pookesh is the idea that their kids are not actually learning respect, that they are learning fear, that what looks like discipline on camera is really intimidation behind the scenes. There's one comment that had around 13,000 views when I was writing this script, and the person said something along the lines of, he's not teaching her respect or discipline, he's teaching her fear, to fear him, her own father. Whenever strict parenting becomes a topic online, someone inevitably brings up the case of Ruby Frankie, and honestly, it is not hard to understand why. Ruby Frankie ran the family channel 8 Passengers, which had millions of subscribers. In August 2023, her 12-year-old son escaped from their home and showed up at a neighbor's door asking for food and water. He had duct tape around his wrists and ankles, and she later pleaded guilty to multiple counts of aggravated child abuse. The details that came out afterwards were so horrifying. Children were physically harmed, they were denied food and water, they were restrained and cut off from anyone who might have realized that something was wrong. That is abuse, point blank, period. That is not a parenting style at all. There's no definition of parenting style that would put that to be acceptable. But the distance between that situation and the Gopalan household is not small, it's very massive. Even before Ruby Frankie was arrested, people already started noticing that some things were off about her videos. The kids, they looked tense, they looked like people who were careful, like they were always slightly bracing themselves for something. And once you see it, it was very hard to ignore. Vidya's content does not carry that same energy. You see Pookesh sitting on the sofa reading next to his son. You see the kids talking back the way teenagers naturally do, laughing, rolling their eyes, existing in their house like it is their space too. Children who are genuinely afraid of a parent do not behave like that. They do not casually sit next to someone that they are terrified of. The internet has a tendency to flatten everything into the same category, but not every structured household belongs in the same box. Structure is not violence, and having high expectations of your children is not automatically cruelty. Can strict parenting go too far? Of course it can. That happens. But when every firm boundary gets labeled as fear-based parenting, it actually muddies the conversation, because when everything is called trauma, it becomes very hard to recognize the situations that truly are trauma. There is a real difference between a child who is scared to speak and a child who simply understands the rules of their household. And if we are going to start using words like fear and intimidation, we should probably make sure that we are actually seeing what we think we are seeing. That brings us to part 7. 7. The disadvantages of strict parenting. That being said, it would not be honest to talk about strict parenting and only focus on the parts that work. There is a real difference between structure and rigidity. Once parenting crosses into that rigid territory, research starts pointing out some problems that are worth taking seriously. Studies looking at authoritarian parenting, which sits at the far end of the strictness spectrum, have repeatedly found patterns of lower life satisfaction, higher anxiety, and increased depression as children grow older. Which is so funny because my girlfriend actually spoke about this in our mini interview when she was younger. Okay, I'm just going to let you guys wait till you watch it. She actually spoke about it because my girlfriend is highly intelligent, but we'll speak a bit about that later on in this video. But anyways, kids who grow up under extreme tight rule system can also struggle with independence later on because they spent most of their childhood being directed instead of learning how to make decisions for themselves. So basically, when they reach adolescence, that combination of pressure and limited autonomy can easily turn into conflict. And when the conflict comes, it's not one that you can physically see. It's not something that is like dramatic, but is the one that creeps up on you, the one that is quiet, that slowly builds until the relationship between a parent and a child becomes tense in the way that nobody really intended. And again, we actually also spoke about this because in the interview, my girlfriend actually said that she would rather be strict to our children when our child is still young, because these children, they know things. They are very, very smart when they are like young, so that when they are older, she would release the hand of strict discipline. Not strict per se. People say strict. I feel like strict has like this weird connotation, but like she'll release the hand of strict discipline on our children. Because during their adolescence, that's not the time where you want them to not tell you things because they are getting into their self. So children tend to hide things from you. So she's going to be much more warm to them. Not like she would not be warm before. I don't know how to put this. She literally said it, and I don't want to misquote her words, but she's going to, why am I saying she? I actually agree with her because that's my wife. But basically, we have agreed that when our child reaches adolescence, like we'll become much more warmer than when we were as children. Basically, we want our children to feel safe with us during every stages of their life, especially during their adolescence, so that they would not go into the wrong crowd or the wrong hands, which again, shit can happen, but we want our children to just love us and feel safe in our arms and safe in our aura, that they are able to tell us things that they may be scared to tell us if we are like overly strict. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know if you guys have heard this phrase that people love to repeat. So people always say strict parents raise sneaky kids. We don't want our children to be sneaky when they get older, because that idea does not come from nowhere. When rules feel impossible to meet or when the control becomes too tight, some kids stop being open and just start getting creative about hiding things instead. And that is something that we do not want our child or our children, if we have more than one, to feel the need to do. The rebellion does not always show up loudly. Sometimes it just develops quietly behind the scenes, and by the time the parent realizes that something is wrong, it has already been happening for a while, or it's already too late. There is also another question that already comes up when people talk about Vidya's parenting online, but this is a very important one. What happens if one of the child, let's say, was disabled or neurodivergent? The parenting style we see from Vidya and Pookesh places a strong emphasis on academics, good grades, strong reading habits, structured routine, clear expectations. But the reality is that not every child's brain processes information the same way. Some children are dyslexic, some have ADHD, some have both, along with other traits that make the traditional classroom environment genuinely difficult rather than simply challenging. So when a child with an undiagnosed learning difference is held to that exact same expectations as a child whose brain naturally fits the school system, the outcome is rarely excellent. More often it becomes frustration, it becomes shame, it becomes a child slowly building the belief that something must be wrong with them, because no matter how hard they try, the results never quite match the effort. A lot of adults who grew up without those diagnoses recognize that experience immediately. And I'm speaking on behalf of myself, because I really wanted to be an engineer, and when I switched to science class, chemistry flogged my butt. I tried so hard to understand chemistry. I tried so hard to understand introtech, introductory to technology. I tried so hard to understand mathematics and further math, and I just couldn't. I tried so hard and I couldn't. I did not understand why why numbers were just so strange to me, but now I understand everything. Being asked how you could not understand something when the person next to you understand it instantly, being compared over and over again, feeling like everyone else somehow received a set of instruction for life that you never got. Over time, that kind of experience just leaves a mark, and it usually is not obvious right away. Conditions like dyslexia or ADHD do not mean that a child is less capable. They simply mean that the path of learning looks different. But if the adults around that child do not recognize that difference early enough, the child often ends up carrying it as a personal failure instead of understanding that the system was not built for the way their brain works. I grew up in Nigeria, and schools in Nigeria, classroom was for everybody. And when I was speaking to my girlfriend, she mentioned that in this country there's something called LSA. So basically, like in class, you learn with other people, but your teacher would realize that, okay, this child is different. So after school, you would have your own personal tutor that would teach you in a way that you understand. And growing up, I did not have that available to me. Like, you just had to know. It's just something that you had to know. If you did not know, then either you fail the course or you pass the course. And I used to cram a lot, and sometimes I would even forget what I crammed. And after I finished downloading whatever I crammed in my exam, I would literally forget after the exam is done. Literally. If people ask me, what did you learn in secondary school? If it's not a topic or a subject that was interesting to me, I would literally not remember anything, because I did not learn to understand. I learned to cram. Hopefully that makes sense. And again, like at the same time, like I said, the environment today is just different from what it was like 10 to 15 years ago. Teachers are far more aware of neurodivergence now, and pediatricians, they actually screen for it earlier. Schools are much better at noticing when there is a mismatch between a child's ability and their results. And from everything visible in their content, Vidya and Pookesh appear to be very involved parents. They are not paying attention to their children. They seem like very present parents. They are not disengaged or dismissive from all I can see. And if it comes out that there are another 8 passengers, I'm going to come here and take my words back. But if one of their children did have a learning disability, there is nothing in their behavior that I suspect that suggests that they would simply ignore it and push harder. I think they would approach the child in the way the child presents.
So the video that I posted about getting a bad grade got a lot of people talking in the comment section. I've also seen a lot of stitches on this in support of setting standards for your kids. Why don't we get ready together? Well, I'll talk about our strict rules. Number 1, my kids need to read at least 30 minutes a day, even on the weekends. We have seen that kids simply cannot read. 7th graders are reading at a 3rd grade level, and high schoolers are reading at a 6th grade level. Every single day, that is a must. Number 2 is no phones allowed in your bedroom. This only really applies to my oldest, but if you need to make a phone call, you can do that downstairs in another room. I do not want your phone in your room. So we do no screen time Monday through Thursday. So no phone unless you need to call a friend, and no TV. Kids are so busy with homework, after school activities, dinner anyway, that there's really no time. Obviously in the summer that changes. And when they do get screen time, we do set limits on that as well. Hour on the phone, maximum. Of course, TV is a little over 2 hours if they're watching a movie. Do not allow our kids to use their phones or iPads at restaurants at all. This was a really hard one to let go of. When we did allow our kids to bring devices into restaurants, they displayed zombie-like behaviors. Screen time free for over 2 years, and it has made such a big difference. And actually have conversations. We can laugh, we can talk. And I want to make it very clear that this doesn't apply for every kid, but this is what worked for us. And the last strict rule for us, while it might be controversial, you are absolutely 100% expected to do well in school. And if they are struggling, we will absolutely help them with what they need to succeed. Of course, every kid is different, and I'm sure there are challenges along the way, but we know that our kids are very capable of doing well in school. And this is what works for us. I hope this was helpful. Love you guys. Get ready with me. If you recall, back in May, I shared our strict rules for our kids. Today, we're going to do part 2. Originally, I said no phones at school. And I mainly said this because she already has an Apple Watch. But I did end up changing my mind with all the crazy things happening in our schools. School in Georgia really hit close to home since it's not that far away. I have decided that it is extremely important she takes the phone to school. Plus, it's not like the kids are allowed to be on it anyway. As soon as they get back from school, or even after school activities, they're expected to get all of their schoolwork done before doing anything else. It's really important, especially for young young kids to have a very normal routine day in and day out. I don't know about y'all, but I strive off of a good routine. Next strict rule might be a little crazy to some of you. You don't allow them to use any devices Monday through Thursday. iPad, phone, TV is obviously sometime an exception, especially if they want to watch a sports game. If they want to call a friend or FaceTime a friend, obviously they can do that. No doom scrolling through YouTube, playing video games for hours, or really being on any kind of social media. Now, Sahana is going to be turning 13 this year, and she really wants to get Snapchat. Still contemplating if we're going to allow that. It seems like all of her friends are on it, and that's how they communicate. I'm also on Snapchat, but I don't know how to use it. Last rule, they're expected to do well in school. Do they have to get all A's? No. They have to work really hard to try to do really well and get good grades? Yes. Life skills that will set them up for success. Please look at what just came in the mail. I grew up with those expectations, and so did Pookesh. And because we set those standards from the beginning, they really do try very hard. And those are our strict rules, part 2. Love you guys.
So the question itself is a fair one to raise, but in that specific situation, it remains more of a hypothetical concern than something that is of any real evidence for right now. And that brings us to part 8, the cultural lens. You also cannot really talk about Vidya and pookesh without looking at the cultural background behind it. Parenting styles do not appear out of nowhere. They are shaped by history, by migration, by what previous generations had to do in order to survive and move forward. Both African and Asian parenting cultures often get labeled as strict. That stereotypes get thrown around constantly online, sometimes jokingly, sometimes critically. And when stereotypes simplify things far too much, they usually come from patterns that people do recognize. In many Asian households, academic success is not treated like an optional extra. It's literally the starting point. Doing well in school is often seen as the safest path towards stability, respect, and opportunity. For many immigrant families especially, education is viewed as something that cannot be taken away from you no matter where you go. And because of that, expectations tend to be very clear. Study hard, respect your parents, choose a career that is stable and respected, which is lawyer, engineer, or medicine. And social life sometimes takes a backseat. Parents often have strong views about what their children should study or become, and in many families, it is not framed as pressure, it is framed as responsibility. You see similar patterns across many African households as well. Discipline has historically been treated as something necessary and something that you should not see as controversial. We've heard of phrases like spare the rod, spoil the child, and this has carried a real cultural weight for a long time, even in churches, in school, in your household. Kids were expected to take school seriously. If you grew up Nigerian, Ghanaian, Kenyan, South African, you probably heard some versions of go and face your book at some point in your childhood. Literally. Education was seen as the ultimate equalizer. Money can disappear, jobs can disappear, but knowledge stays with you. And education is something that my dad took to the head. Like, I went to private schools. The only time I didn't go to private schools when I did my master's degree. Private university, I went to Covenant University. You cannot even leave campus. If you need campus, you need to take permission, and they need to call your parents to make sure that, to let them know that you're leaving school. My secondary school was private. It was Cambridge accredited. My primary school was private. My dad did not joke with education, did not joke with making sure that we were in the best institutions. Even if my dad did not have the money, he used to say, even if I don't have the money, I will go and look for the money so that you will attend the best schools and get as much knowledge as possible. I went to the best university in Nigeria and the best secondary school in my state. Education is something that African parents take very, very seriously. Education was seen as the ultimate equalizer. My dad would be like, money can disappear, jobs can disappear, but the knowledge you earn in school stays with you. There's even one comment that I saw online when I was doing this research, and this comment made this mindset pretty clear. So someone wrote that they were Indian and they grew up with strict parents. Now as an adult, they were grateful. They have 6-figure income. They have no teenage pregnancy. The freedom that comes with independence is amazing. And that is the promise that strict parenting often makes. Less freedom when you are young in exchange for more stability later. Short-term restriction in exchange for long-term independence. And for many people, that approach does work. But does it remain flawless? No, because there are people that have been in strict households and they've come out being a menace to society because they've seen this avenue of freedom that they did not get when they were younger. and they do not even know what to do with that. I almost was like that. I'm not even gonna lie. When I graduated from university, I almost was like that until my dad was like, oh yeah, it's time to do your master's. Literally. Research across multiple countries shows that very rigid parenting can come with real downsides as well. For example, people who grew up in rigid homes could have higher anxiety, more stress, lower self-esteem. Some kids spend so much time trying to meet expectations that by the time they reach adulthood, they are not entirely sure what they actually want for themselves. Decision making can become difficult because they spent years being told what the right choice was supposed to be. Others develop a deep fear of failure, which my girlfriend has. She has a deep fear of failure because in school when she was younger, she never failed. Like, she always got A's. What should the end? So basically, when mistakes feel unacceptable, the pressure can just start to build in unhealthy ways. In more extreme situations, that pressure has been linked to things like self-harm, eating disorders, addictions, and risky behavior later in life. Not because strict parenting intend harm, but because carrying the weight of constant performance can be so exhausting. So the model itself is not automatically good or bad. What matters is balance. Strictness combined with warmth often produces confident and capable children. Strictness without emotional connection can create distance between parents and their kids. And for many people who grew up in African or South Asian households, their memories are not only about pressure. I'm going to talk about myself a little bit here. I remember when I was younger, I remember like gardening with my parents. I don't know why I'm saying parents like that. Literally, yeah, I think I've gardened with like my mom before. But we had people at home, like people who used to, oh my God, you guys are going to think I'm some Nepo baby. I'm not a Nepo baby. My dad was quite strict. But anyways, I remember gardening at home. We have a gardener and we used to like join him to garden. My dad would make sure that we joined to garden. And I used to regularly visit the library after school. So when I come back from secondary school during holiday time, my dad would drop my siblings in the state library. We also had extra lessons at home. That was after primary school because my primary school were not boarders. It was a day primary school. So after school, my lesson teacher, Uncle Pius, would teach us, especially mathematics, which I never still understood. I wish I had things like music classes. I did not. Or like things that literally like built the artsy side of me. My dad did not really fit into that because again, African parents, they just knew you had all these things, but they did not take it seriously. And those things then at that time, I would like equate them to punishment. But over time, me growing up, those were not punishments. Those were investments into my future self. I love plants. I don't have plants in my living room, but I have plants outside of my living room. I don't have plants in my living room because of my cat. He loves to dig, and if somebody has an idea as to what I should do about that, because I've tried the pine cones, they don't work. My cat is very smart, very, very smart. Like, he has an IQ of above normal cats, honestly speaking. So he always found a way. So I had to put all my plants outside. So if you have an idea on how I can do or what I should do about the plants, please let me know. Thank you. But anyways, the motivation underneath a lot of these parenting styles is usually love and protection. Parents trying to create a future that is much more stable than the ones that they themselves experience. Sometimes the execution misses the mark, but most of the time the intention is about long-term care. Whether that intention always translates into the best outcome is a completely different conversation. Now, that brings us to part 9, sapiosexuality, intellectual standard, and the company you keep. There is also a bigger point here that goes beyond rules about phones, homeworks, or screen time. It is really about the kind of adult intentional parenting tends to shape and the kind of social worlds that those adults eventually build around themselves. People love to roll their eyes when someone says that they are sapiosexual, but if you strip away the buzzword, the idea itself is very simple. Some people are deeply attracted to intelligence, not just academic intelligence, but curiosity, creativity, perspective, depth, the ability to think about the world in a way that is very interesting. And honestly, I'm one of those people. I'm so sorry, this may ruffle a bit of some feathers, but you will not catch me dating someone who cannot think properly, who cannot read to a certain level properly, someone who never engages with ideas, or someone who has nothing to bring to a conversation intellectually or creatively. Like, that might sound harsh to some people, but this is about compatibility. I am so sorry, okay? So if a conversation dies after 5 minutes because there is nothing to explore or nothing to debate or nothing to reflect on, I know that connection is not going to hold my attention, and that connection is not going to go anywhere. I've been on a date with someone and I just knew that it was not going to do anything. And even when we're about to go, normally you hug the person, and we're about to hug, I literally brought out my hand to shake the person brought out their hand to hug me, and it was so awkward, so I had to hug them. But now we're friends, but honestly we're friends, we're acquaintances, and I just knew there and there that, okay, yeah, this is not going to work. But let's talk about my girlfriend. So take my girlfriend as an example. When she was a kid, she loved reading, and I mean genuinely loved reading. There are so many photos of her growing up where she does not even realize that someone is taking a picture of her, because she's just sitting there, her head is buried into a book, and she's always reading. Reading was something that she naturally gravitated towards. When we talk about our childhoods, there are actually a lot of similarities there. We both grew up around books, curiosity, and learning. She was more book smart. I was not really book smart when it comes to like important subjects. I just had subjects that I liked. So important subjects that I liked were like not chemistry, what am I saying? But like commerce, government. I liked government. I used to pass government. I don't know if they taught us economics. I think they taught us economics, but later on in secondary school. But like serious subject like chemistry. So in Nigeria, we have 3 junior secondary schools and 3 senior secondary schools. So we have junior secondary school 1, junior secondary school 2, junior secondary school 3. Then you have to write an exam, a government exam, to get admitted into senior secondary school 1, senior secondary school 2, senior secondary school 3. Then you have to write another government exam that's like GCSE to get admitted into university. You have to write 2. So 1 is if you want to do university in Nigeria, it's called JAM, and then GCSE is recognized worldwide. We call it WAEC, but it's also equated to GCSE and all of that. Okay, so basically we have to write 3 exams to get into university in Nigeria, like when you finish secondary school. I don't know why I said 2. So the first one is WAEC, NECO, and JAM. WAEC is compulsory for everybody because it's at an international standard, so you can use that to enter any university in the world. It's like GCSE. NECO is not really compulsory, but it's advised for you to write it, and most schools make it compulsory. Like my school, it was compulsory for you to write it. I think NECO had to do with like national, because some universities will need your NECO. Another reason why you needed NECO was because you could use it to substitute your WAEC. So WAEC is a GCSE that it's compulsory for everybody. So for example, if you failed government in WAEC, you could use the government that you passed in NECO to substitute for the one you failed in WAEC, if that makes sense. So if you failed government or commerce, or I don't know if it happens with maths and English, I'm not sure about that, but like if you failed any subject in WAEC, which is like the GCSE, and you pass it in NECO, you can substitute them. But then the JAM is JAMB, not JAM. So the JAM is the one that you would need compulsorily to go to university in Nigeria. But if you're not going to university in Nigeria, you don't need to write JAM, but it's advised for you to, because you don't know tomorrow. But yeah. Oh, another thing that I want to say is when I did my first Okuntakinte video, people were like that there are some schools that do not write WAEC, because basically WAEC is meant to be compulsory for the whole of West African schools. But when I did that video, people were like that some schools did not write WAEC, like it was not compulsory. And I was like, because it's meant to be compulsory. But then again, I don't know, it's Africa, you can get away with a lot of things, because my school was Cambridge accredited and it was compulsory for us to write WAEC. But Okuntakinte's school was also Cambridge accredited, and his school, it was not compulsory to write WAEC. I just knew that when I was 29 years old. So yeah. So, but in Nigeria, someone said that WAEC was not compulsory in one school in Nigeria. So it's meant to be compulsory, but I guess some schools don't make it compulsory. So I just remember that I was like, you know what, let me just add that. Because from my understanding, it's actually meant to be compulsory for every school in West Africa. But I guess some people jumped into the loop or the hoop is it loop or hoop? But again, like personally, I would recommend that people write WAEC. I don't know, because again, you don't know the future. But anyways, I finished school like literally 2012. That's when I finished my secondary school, which is like so far. I don't know how many years ago that was. Yeah, 2012, that's when I finished secondary school. So yeah. If you want to do A levels, you can also do A levels. That's if like maybe the school that you're going to, because most people during my time graduated from secondary school when they were 16. I graduated from secondary school when I was 16. So if I wanted to do my university in the UK, I would have had to do A levels, which is 1 year, so that when I'm 18 years, I would get admitted into UK universities. Hopefully that makes sense. So basically in your JS3, when you take the government exam to get into SS1, so in SS1, the first term in your SS1, because we had 3 terms in Nigeria in schools, so your first term in your SS1, that's when you do all the subjects. So after that, you would now see what subjects do I want to do, at least in my school, what do I want to do when I grow up. So then I was like, oh, I want to be a petroleum engineer, even though I did not like chemistry. So in my second term in my senior secondary school 1, I was moved to a science class. So that was where I had to do all this chemistry and all of that, but I did not excel in science. I did not excel in science except physics, which is very weird because like it's physics. But I think it's because of the way the teacher taught us, so I was able to understand him, if that makes sense. He made teaching much more interesting. That is why I passed my physics. Like I got a B in physics. That was the only science that I understood. I got a B because of the way the teacher taught us. Again, like literally. But when it comes to like subject like commerce, government, like, you know, more of essay courses and classes, those ones I excelled in. But I think when I was entering SS2, that's senior secondary school 2, I think we started doing economics. I'm not really sure. I think we did commerce and then we did economics. And I don't know if I liked economics. I think I did, but it was just not my cup of tea. But I really did enjoy like arts class, English, literature, like, yeah. So when it comes to my girlfriend, like everything, it was only maths. My girlfriend is not really that strong with maths. She, like me and her, like when we speak about our mathematics, like love for mathematics, we just wanted to pass because I think every country, maths and English are very compulsory for you to pass. So I just wanted to get a C in mathematics. So we both grew up around books, curiosity and learning. The difference is that, again, we were raised in completely different parts of the world. So my girlfriend is Ghanaian, British Ghanaian, so but she was born in the UK. So she's lived all her life in the UK, but she has Ghanaian parents. So we grew up completely in different parts of the world and our brains work differently. She is autistic and I am like predominantly ADHD. So despite that, she is incredibly intelligent. She even earned a scholarship to study at a Russell Group University. So for people who do not know what Russell Group University is, so Russell Group University or Russell Group is a collection of leading universities in the UK that are known for strong academic standards and research output. So schools like University of Oxford and University of Cambridge are part of that group. Is kind of similar to Ivy League in the USA. But that detail, I'm not gonna lie, even though my girlfriend is this hot cake, it's just almost beside the point. Having a prestigious degree does not automatically make someone intellectually interesting. I've seen someone that is so book smart but they cannot hold a conversation. I've seen that so many times. Plenty of people have impressive credentials and they still bring very little curiosity or depth into conversations. In her case though, the intelligence, I'm not gonna lie, is real. And what stands out about her is not just where she studied, it's about how her mind works. The curiosity she has always had. Reading and learning were never things that had to be forced on her. They were things that she genuinely enjoyed. And when someone grows up with that kind of curiosity, it just shows up everywhere in how they think and how they talk and how they understand the world and how they connect with other people. It's the same things with friendship. My close friends, they work in completely different industries. Some work in tech, some work in finance, some work in creative fields like painting and art. But the common thread is not their job titles. It's literally their minds. What do they bring into a conversation? I want to be able to sit with someone and talk for hours, then go home and still think about what was said days later. That kind of conversation where one idea just sticks in your head and keeps turning over for a week, that kind of intellectual stimulation is something that is rare. But when we find it, it genuinely just changes the way that we experience the world. And interestingly, those environments, people may see it as boring and all of that, but they are not boring. They are often the opposite. You can still go out, you can still dance, you can still travel, you can party, you can laugh, you can be completely unserious. The fact that you have friends who have like intellectual conversations and very serious with their professional life does not mean that depth and joy are not opposite. The best social circles usually have both. I and my friends now, we've planned our yearly trip. So every year we travel to a country, we've already planned it, and literally we are having fun. Friday, we are going to a rave, but then when it's time to talk about something serious, we talk about something serious. That is the balance in our friendship. This is where intentional parenting starts to reveal its long-term effect. And when kids grow up in homes where reading is normal, where curiosity is encouraged, and where learning is just part of everyday life, they often grow into adults who naturally gravitate towards similar environments. And it's not because they are trying to be elitist, but it's because those spaces feel very familiar and very, very energizing. So if you look at the social circles around Vidya and her husband Rakesh, you can see a glimpse of that pattern. Their friends appear to be people who are driven, who are curious, who are professionally established and engaged with the world. You see gatherings where people work in law, in finance, in tech, in medicines. Conversations in those rooms probably do not stop at surface level topics. And that kind of network rarely happens by accident. People tend to cluster around shared values. Someone who was raised to care about ideas, education, and growth will usually feel much more comfortable around others who think the same way. Over time, your social circle just becomes an extension of the environment you grew up in. That is why the aspiration behind strict or intentional parenting is often misunderstood. The goal is not just to raise a child who gets good grades. The deeper goal is to raise an adult who values knowledge, who seeks out interesting people, who contributes to conversations rather than just consuming whatever entertainment happens to be trending that week. It is about raising someone who will recreate that environment again later in life. Someone who takes their own kids to museums, to library, to botanical gardens, places where curiosity gets sparked. Someone who encourages them to go outside, touch grass, both literally and metaphorically, plant something, build something, explore something. Because the truth is that the world has far more to offer than whatever is trending on TikTok right now. Trust me, they'll be able to think intellectually, they'll be able to plan things, they'll be able to be very creative even for the people they love. So basically, there was a time I was so obsessed with plants, reading so much about plants and just so obsessed with plants. And my girlfriend wanted to give me a promise ring. That was like, I think 2 years ago. She wanted to give me a promise ring. And she took me to Kew Gardens. Kew Gardens is this big botanical land of gardens and everything. And then went there and then she gave me like a promise ring because again, she took me to a place that I was so familiar with, a place that at that time I was just obsessed with, like had so many things that I was so curious about, and that's where she gave me the promise ring. There are ideas that can shape the world you think for years, books that can completely change how you see people, conversations that can quietly alter the direction of your life. Children who discover that early are not just being prepared for school, they're being prepared for life in a world that increasingly rewards curiosity, focus, and the ability to think deeply. And in that sense, what Vidya and Pookesh appear to be trying to do is not about control. They are just cultivating and instilling all these things in their children. And that brings us to part 10, the exploitation of children on social media. Even with everything that Vidya and Pookesh appear to be doing, there is still a contradiction still sitting right at the center of their online presence that is so difficult to ignore. One comment that I saw just summed it up pretty bluntly. Someone wrote that limiting their kids' screen time during the week while also putting them all over the internet does not really make sense. And if we are being very honest, that is not an unreasonable point. Vidya has built a platform with nearly 5 million followers, and a large portion of her content includes her children, especially her daughter. Her daughter Sahana in particular has been at the center of some of the most viral moments. One video about facial hair shaving pulled in more than 30 million views. At a certain point, you have to acknowledge what that means. The children are not just appearing occasionally in the background. They are part of the content in a very real and consistent way. And that is where the question of consent starts to become uncomfortable. Children cannot truly consent to being on the internet in that way. They cannot fully understand what it means to have their childhood documented, shared, and discussed by millions of strangers. They cannot grasp how permanent the internet is and how something posted when they were 13 could still exist years later when they are 25, applying for a job or simply trying to live a private adult life. People who grew up inside family vlogging spaces have started speaking openly about this. Shari Frankie spoke to lawmakers in Utah in 2024 about her experience growing up on camera. She described herself as a victim of family vlogging and said that if she could go back, she would choose an empty bank account over having her childhood shared across the internet. That is a very heavy thing to hear, and it tends to stick with you because what do you mean you'd rather be broke than having your life plastered online? Some would think that that's irrational, but this is a victim speaking. To be clear, again, I am not comparing the Gopalan household to what happened in the 8-passenger case. What happened with Ruby Frankie was criminal and it was fucking extreme. That distinction matters. But the broader issue that Shari raised does not only apply to abusive situations. It applies anytime a child regularly appears in monetized content that they never actually had the ability to agree to.
I don't come today as the daughter of a felon, nor as a victim of an abnormally abusive mother. I come today as a victim of family vlogging. But I want to be clear that there is never, ever a good reason for posting your children online for money or fame. There is no such thing as a moral or ethical family vlogger. But as children, we do not understand the consequences of filming our lives and posting it for the world to see. We cannot give consent to our parents to post our lives. In any other context, it is understood that children cannot give consent. But for some reason, people think family vlogging is different. There is no amount of money that can justify selling your soul as a child to the world. In no other industry would we justify unregulated child labor with a huge paycheck, and we should not do that here. If I could go back and do it all again, I'd rather have an empty bank account now and not have my childhood plastered all over the internet. No amount of money I received has made what I've experienced worth it.
I also came across a video from Jesslyn Grace where she talked about her experience growing up as a child YouTuber. She spoke about being abused by her mother and described how complicated it was growing up inside that environment where content and family life just blurred together. Child actors have had legal protections for decades. Laws like the Coogan Act exist specifically to make sure that money earned by child performers is protected for them instead of being absorbed entirely by adults around them. Family influencers are operating in a very different space. That industry grew up so quickly that I have to guess that the legal system never really had the time to catch up. California has only recently begun introducing rules that require parents to set aside a portion of earnings for children who appear regularly in monetized content. In the UK, legislation like the Online Safety Act 2023 is starting to touch on related issues, but the overall framework is still evolving, and that is why the contradiction in Vidya's situation is worth acknowledging directly. On one hand, we have parents who are clearly trying to limit screen exposure and to also encourage their children to read and all of that, and also protects their children from the worst parts of growing up online. On the other hand, those same children are visible to millions of people on social media, and also personal moments that would normally stay inside a family are being shared publicly. A teenage girl navigating something as personal as facial hair became a 30 million view conversation. That is a lot of strangers just having opinions about your adolescence. Researchers from Lancaster University have raised concerns about this exact dynamic. Children who grow up regularly on camera often do not experience childhood without an audience, and because the parent controls the platform, it can be very difficult for a child to meaningfully say no even if they wanted to. None of this automatically means that these people are bad parents, no, but it does place them in the same complicated space that many family influencers are in right now, a space where parenting, privacy, and running an online business are starting to overlap in ways that society has not fully figured out yet. And even well-meaning parents in that world are still trying to work out where the line should actually be. Part 11, the path forward. The truth, like it usually does, probably sits somewhere in the middle. Vidya and Rakesh are not villains, but they are not flawless examples of perfect parenting either. They are parents doing what what most parents are trying to do, and that is raising their children in the best way that they know how. Good parenting is not about forcing every child into the same outcome. It's about recognizing who that child actually is as a person, and you as a parent stepping in to help them develop their own strength. The real measure of parenting is not whether every child ends up with the same grades or the same achievement. It's whether every child grows up with the support, the tools, and the confidence that the child needs to become the best version of themselves. Let me call my girlfriend. She's currently in the room. She's very sick, but let me see if she's going to put... I was even about to call you. I thought I was going to die in there, you know? What? I was hearing you cough. Hi guys, so my girlfriend is here. I managed to bring her out of the room, literally. I was about to call her, she just came out. But disclaimer, my girlfriend is she's ill. She has cough and cold and all of that. So her voice is a little bit, it's sexy, it's raspy, and I love her raspy voice, but yo, she still sweeps me off my feet, and it's literally almost 3 years. Literally 3 years next month. But anyways, guys. Okay, so obviously, I and my girlfriend, we speak about our future and our children, what we expect from our children and how we'll raise our children. I personally, I don't want to get pregnant, but I don't mind having children. My girlfriend, on the other hand, she wants to experience the joy of being pregnant and motherhood, but I don't want to be pregnant, but I'm going to support them. And if eventually they say they don't want to be pregnant, we're going to adopt, because I've always wanted to adopt a child. Whether my girlfriend gets pregnant or not, we'll have an adopted child, because I've always wanted to adopt a child. But either ways, we're having children. And your people don't get irritated. It's so obvious that I'm in love. But anyways, so basically I recorded a video on this woman. Her name is Vidya, and her husband. So they are Indian American. So they are this couple that show how they cater for their children, how they train their children. So their children literally are, by societal standard, raised in a strict home. Personally, I don't think they're really that strict. I just think their home has structure and routine, and they put education first. Their child or their children, have 2 children, a boy and a girl. The girl is 13 years. Their daughter and their son cannot get anything less than an A in school, which I think that may be controversial, because again, not one size fits all, because we have children that are neurodivergent, children that have all these things and all of that, and the way you're training this person cannot train that person. Even when I was talking about it, I also put my life experience as how, even I've told you, I was the average kid. I did not know mathematics, chemistry, and all of that, but I excelled in one aspect, arts and all of that. But the ones where you're expected as an African child to excel in, I was not good in that. I just wanted to have a C and be able to move to the next class. But her children, they excel. They don't get anything less than an A. There was even a video where the girl pranked her dad and was like, "Oh, I got 50%." And dad was like, "Why'd you get that? We don't get that in this family," and things like that. And the son, I think there was a video where the son got 80% and the father was not happy. But if you get 80% or you get a B, especially in my family, my dad would literally clap hands for you, because again, you did well and all of that. But people are saying that this parenting is too strict, and while other people are saying that it's actually good discipline. There's a video of when they were about to skiing, and before takeoff, literally the children were reading on the plane. It was controversial. People were thinking that it's performative for social media, so people were allow them to enjoy the view and all of that. Also, during school term or term times, during the weekdays, the children don't play on social media. They're not on social media. They're either doing mathematics or Tetris, or doing one educational game or the other. The children have phones. They recently started taking phones to school because of the school shooting and all of that. But apart from that, the mom does not allow the children to be on their phone during weekdays, only during the weekends. But with that, the children, their phones get monitored by their parents. Basically, the children are being brought up in this environment of structure. But on the other side, the children look comfortable around the parents. There's even a video where the child did a TikTok saying, "You would not survive a day." Is a soundbite. "You will not survive a day in my shoes," or something like that, showing the books they have to read. Not the book. It was not the books they had to read. There's this educational thing that the mom promotes. I've forgotten the name, but I wrote it down in my script, showing how much they have to like study during, basically introducing how much you have to study during the week and how much they take education very serious, if that makes sense. So basically, I'm actually calling you here to talk to you about like us, because we as people in a relationship, we've spoken about our future, we've spoken about our children, how we want our children to be like in terms of things that we allow, things that we do not allow, or things that we would not allow, things that we will allow, screen time, will our children be allowed to have phones, at what age would they be allowed to have phones? And I have some questions here, and the first question is, how do you imagine us raising our children in terms of structure and discipline, and do you prefer a strict routine with clear rules or a much more relaxed approach? And when I say relaxed approach, I mean like gentle parenting. We'll talk about this without like putting too much of our business online, you know, but what do you think?
Well, I definitely don't agree with the whole like relaxed, gentle approach.
Me too.
Like, I don't agree with that.
Me too.
I think it has its pros, but it also has its cons.
I feel like the cons are more than the pros.
I've seen the cons more than I've seen the pros. Yes, the pros, you raise children that are, let's say, to an extent more emotionally in tune, like with themselves, more emotionally aware, more emotionally comfortable to talk to you about certain stuff. But the cons I've seen are just evident, like they're just there, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking from like my own personal opinion. I'm talking from like experience. I've worked with children. I have an educational background for children from 0 to I think age 4. And obviously those are the ones that were born, let's say, just after COVID. Obviously in 2022, I also had educational experience. So those were the children that were literally born during like COVID and during like lockdown. And you like the effect that period like had on them is like evident. It's obvious what like which ones were raised on like iPads, just like the way they like handle their emotions, their like behavior. I don't know. I just think the cons outweigh the pros, and parents don't really like gauge that until it's too late. Yeah. That's just me talking from real life experience. Yeah. Not just my opinion.
Even from like, remember where I was living before, like, yeah, like it was a lot. Like seeing gentle parenting in real life, in real time, it was just a lot. Like I was almost going crazy, but I'm not going to speak further on that. So I
have another point. I feel like I'm not against the whole like relaxed, gentle approach, but I think it shouldn't come too soon. I think the gentle approach should come once a child is in their teens. That's just me, like based on what I've seen, because in their teens a lot happens, and that's the crucial point where you need them to talk to you the most. Yeah. However, the first couple of years of a child's life is where you have to come with the rules and the strictness, because children will naturally push boundaries. That's part of their growth. Do you know what I'm saying? Like children will push your boundaries. That's just how they grow and how they just learn to interact. Yeah. But the whole gentle approach doesn't work with that, because if you're being gentle and the child is like pushing your boundaries, it just doesn't work.
Children are actually very smart.
They are extremely fast.
They are very smart. So would you say you would go with much more of like a very strict routine, or like, especially when it comes to children, like is it going to be like a very strict routine?
Not very, but there will be strictness and there will be a routine.
So there'll be like a balance.
I didn't have a very I knew not to mess up. Yeah. Like my mom would just have to look at me. Just a look.
And again, even if like I'm strict with my children, it does not mean that I would not create a space where they can come to me to talk to me. Do you understand? Like, yeah. Because there's some people that are like very strict that your children are actually like scared to open up to you.
I feel like they're more like dictators.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. So yeah, there's a difference between
strict, not like very.
Yeah.
My mom was strict, but she was very strict about certain things. But overall, I wouldn't say she was very strict. No.
Yeah, because even like my dad was strict, but like I was not scared of my dad. I was more scared of my mom than my dad.
The thing is that, you know, when everyone says, oh, children are not meant to like be scared of their parents, who have fear. I had fear, but like it wasn't fear like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. Yeah. Children are supposed to have some kind of fear, and I think it intertwines with respect. Yeah. Children are supposed to, like, you're meant to fear your parents.
I think fear is like a strong word.
But that's what everyone's putting on. Like, to me, it's interchangeable with respect. I didn't fear my parents like, oh my gosh, like I can't breathe, I'm gonna die. But it was like fear, like, cool. If I'm out, it's just a look. I was fixed up instantly. That is like fear, not being gentle parenting, whereas like you're out and the child's on the floor, they're kicking, they're screaming because the child has no fear.
Yeah, that makes sense. So another question I would like to ask is, what expectations would you want us to have like around schools, learning and academic success for our kids? Because this family literally, like, their A's are non-negotiable, but like someone like me who was like an average child and like nobody suspected that, oh, I was neurodivergent, and growing up and being diagnosed late in life, everything just made sense. Like my interest and things that I did as a child was, my dad was always saying, you're so different from other children, but it was as if I was not ready to learn or things like that. My dad would be like, you're so different from other children, down to like things that I like to wear. He did not understand why I did not like Cinderella dresses, why I always liked like to wear black, or why I was like always very different. And he always compared me with like children from the church or like my brothers or this or that. But like it's a thing where, again, this family, A's are non-negotiable. So what expectations would you like us to have like around school, around learning, around like the academic success of our children?
I don't know how to answer that because I did like extremely good in school. I
actually spoke about it.
I came across my old like report card. I took a picture of it. It was all A. Maths was a C, but I did like quite well in school. I'm not gonna lie.
Actually, I thought that you had a scholarship.
Yeah. For me, books have to be introduced quite early. And even working with children now, children enjoy like books. They enjoy to read and whatnot. I want to introduce books as early as I can. Do you get what I'm saying? Like children, like they naturally like storybooks. You know, I also enjoy books as well. So it won't be a case where I'm just like, okay, cool, you have to read. They will see me like holding a book as well. So it's something that I hope to like put into practice and like emulate that.
And the two of us, we love to read. We used to, why do you roll your eyes? We had like a 2-person book club.
That you broke.
I didn't break it. I didn't break it. I didn't break it. We can go back to it. But I've been reading like more audiobooks now, which, yeah, I'm getting used to reading audiobooks because I don't know, it just does not give what like reading books does, if that makes sense. But I want to like incorporate like reading more books because I have like books like even in my living room, even in my bedroom. So like the question is like, what expectations do you tend to have like when it comes to like their academic success? This couple, the expectation is that A is not negotiable. Their children must have all A's.
I won't put it on a grade, but I expect you to do your best. No, not even to do your best. I expect you to do the best. If that's an A, that's an A. I did great in school. Not in everything, but in most stuff. I didn't have an extra head. Do you get what I'm saying? So I feel like you should also exceed. However, as opposed to expecting them to get A, I want them to also know that it's important to grow. So B's are okay. If you get B's mean there's like room for improvement. Because I think the one thing that like messed me up a lot, you know, like emotionally and stuff, is that because I was always on A's, as soon as I dropped grades, that like hit me so hard. I didn't even know how to handle that because it hadn't ever happened.
Yeah.
Whereas it's easier to go low and exceed that.
Yeah.
So I feel like just teaching them that it's like everything is climbing. You know what I mean? Steps, you climb up. With that, you know.
That makes sense because I remember like when I was younger in primary school, I'm not gonna lie, I was like an average student. I remember by the time I got 10th in class and my parents were so happy. 10th out of 35 or so. My parents were happy that just shut the fuck up. Like just shut up. Don't even say that's alright. Like because reading was always so hard. It's not like I didn't try. I tried. We had like a lesson teacher. His name was Uncle Pius. But like remember when I got 10th, like my dad was so happy and he made me want to do better. The following term I got 8th in class. But like someone like my brother gets 8 in less than like 5th position. That 5th position, because that time he was always in the sick bay. So we get anything like 5th in the class, like it was like, oh, why is it getting?
I'm saying like your experience has proved that the fact that you got an okay like placement, it encouraged you to want to try. Yeah, you know what I'm saying it put the power in your hand as a child because it made you want to try more.
Yeah.
You want to push to improve. Do you get it?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I feel like academics are important, but just trying to look for ways to make it more enjoyable. Because school is fun, but learning can be a chore.
Yeah.
And I want them to actually enjoy learning. That's the only way it will actually they'll actually absorb the info, because it's easy to get straight A's, but are you actually like absorbing the information?
Yeah.
Or are you just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. How do you feel about things like screen time, phones, social media for children? Like, do you think there should be like, do you think there should be like strict limits or like
100%.
much more freedom? Like, when you say strict limits, what do you mean?
I think, I grew up in an age where we got internet in my house in 2009 or 10. Before that, we'd go to the internet cafe or
even us too.
A library.
Yeah.
Now, back then, I think it's still the case now, you would go on a computer at like half an hour at a time, maximum an hour, but it was timed. It wasn't just cool, you choose a computer and you're like on it for hours. No.
Yeah.
Libraries, it was half an hour, it was an hour, it was timed. Children now do not have the concept of time.
Yeah.
Where, cool, I'm on this thing for an amount of time. It's just a blur in their minds.
Yeah.
I'm like on it for hours, and I think that's what messes with their heads.
Yeah.
So I don't agree with screen time. I don't agree in iPad children.
Yeah, me too.
If we're having a meal as like a household, everyone's phones will be off the table.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about our day, what went well in your day, I feel like the hardest person that will be to get into shape this role would be my wife, George. You get it? Because I feel like I'd be parenting the children, also parenting like you as well.
Why did you say so? Because what?
I feel like one argument or one like back and forth we'll have with the kids is that, oh, you can't do this. Oh, but like, mommy does it. And in that case, what do I say? It's true.
Why you say, but mommy does it? Mommy's an adult.
I don't like that.
What?
I don't like stuff like that. Oh, I can because I'm an adult. No. We're at a meal. We're meant to be talking.
I'm not going to hold my phone while we're at a meal.
But you do.
While we're talking. We don't have children yet, but like
practice makes perfect.
But then I'm not going to hold my phone when like we're meant to all eat together. We'll have conversations. Yeah, but like
the thing is, I'm conflicted with this topic because it's like I don't want my child to be the odd one out. You know, when like children are talking and then your child doesn't know like what's happening, like, or what's trending and whatnot. It can leave them like being the odd one out.
Yeah,
they
but
might
like
get picked on.
But like things trending sometimes, like because I've been doing commentaries at the time. Stanley's was trend. I'm like, is that what I want my child to be influenced by things like that? Would I want my child to be influenced by things like that?
It can leave them open to being picked on. Children can be mean.
I know children can be mean. The fact that we are strict parents does not mean that we will not teach our children how to stand up for themselves. Teach them how to stand up for themselves. Teach them how to clap back.
But still, children, it's like if everyone has something and they don't have it, I'm just trying to give both sides. If your child is the only one who doesn't have it, they can feel like isolated.
How should I put it? You can still buy trending things for your children, but still teaching them the art of detachment when it comes to those possessions.
Or not like everything is like, it's like you don't need everything.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need everything.
Growing up, I'm not gonna lie, from when I asked for an Xbox, Nintendo, I would get those things, but not when I asked.
Exactly.
They would always come later. I got stuff, but it came.
Exactly.
No, but that's mean though. Mum would buy me these things after they're done trending, and it's like, well,
it's not mean. It teaches you patience. And it teaches you not to be entitled.
Yeah, I got things, but it was after the news had died.
And again, things, exactly. So if your parents keep following trending things, it turns into overconsumption.
No, I agree. I'm just trying to
because I can remember like when I was in secondary school, there's these sandals that not secondary school, primary school. There's these sandals that people used to wear where it had the dash. No, not the plastic one. It was like leather. It had like the dash. We did not have that. I remember always telling my dad, let's have the sandals. No. We went to a shoemaker to make our shoe.
Oh, that is cheap.
We went to Katina, like a whole covered sandals that had like 2 holes.
No, that's not That's patience. That's patience on a different level. He basically said, that I want to teach you how to see the whole process. That's crazy.
I remember going to the shoemaker and him measuring our shoe and all of that. Because because I didn't get like trending sandals and all of that. And I'm not saying that we are going to like restrict our children from having all those things. We will not. But at the end of the day, we have to teach them that all these are possessions. Like following trends can only lead to overconsumption.
100%.
So another question is, if one of our children learns differently or had something like ADHD, because I'm neurodivergent, have ADHD and like possible dyslexia and possible autism, but you're like autistic. So how do you think that we can adapt our parenting and expectations to that?
I feel like people are misinformed. It's not that children on the spectrum can't learn; they just need a different approach.
Yeah.
I feel like every child has their strengths.
Yeah.
If you take time and you observe, like I'm gonna use like my classroom for example, the classroom that I'm in the most. At first glance, it's obvious the ones whose parents like stick them on an iPad, and then the ones who take trips to like museums, trips out, because like they're the ones who ask a lot of questions and they just know a lot of stuff, facts about trains and stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? So I feel like observing their strength. Okay, me growing up, right, I'm not good with numbers, but I'm good with like words. So if we have a child like that, maybe I'm not good with numbers. You're also not good with numbers. So in terms of maths, I already know that maths in our household is not gonna work.
It ain't gonna work.
Andrea's good at maths. Maybe we can, you know, we can say, oh, you know, like you can go to auntie's house
to teach, because.
But maths, I feel like they'll just be looking at us like you both are just like leading into their strengths, isn't it? I guess getting them extra support in areas that they're not.
Because I had like a lesson teacher when I was younger.
I hated him.
Uncle Pius.
He used to shout all the time.
So I had a lesson teacher when I was younger, and we can incorporate that.
5 times 5. I don't know. 5 times 5. I don't know. No, I think they think that shouting is gonna get them. I don't know. Do you get it? No.
Okay, number 5. How would you?
I even answered that question well.
Okay, so yeah, I don't think you did. So how do you think we should adapt our parenting and expectations?
It's not every day like being strict in it. Some days might call for you being relaxed in your approach.
Yeah, but like when it comes to like a child learning differently.
Okay, but I don't how different.
In an aspect of like a classroom, students are being taught the same because they're expected to learn the same way. It's only when it's different when they're like a teacher can spot and be like, oh yeah, this child seems to like learn differently.
So often in school you will get a LSA, which is a learning support assistant. Doesn't really happen in nursery. Mostly happens once you get into primary school, where teacher is teaching the same thing to the whole class. But once she's done, your learning support person will re-explain everything to you, but just one-to-one.
Yeah. So exactly. So that is the school's job. So what of us as parents? Like, how do we intend to like adapt our parenting and expectations? Because again, it's not going to be easy on us as parents.
It's not. But being a parent is like, it's a hard job.
It is a hard job. Then imagine someone who has a disability.
Well, trying to find ways. Okay, but the thing is that because it's your child, you will know what makes your child engaged. Do you get what I'm saying? Some children do not like the idea of being sat at a desk and a table. If they like to walk around, as you're saying, 2 + 2 equals, and they're running around 2 + 2 equals 4. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like, you have to adapt. Like, some children cannot like sit still. Or like for me, I would love, because you know how for me I'm torn between how to like dress my child's room. I don't know if I want it to be a vibe or if I want it to be educational, but I think the educational trumps it being a vibe. Having like educational posters on the wall, colours, numbers, a Monday to Friday, January to December. Do you get what I'm saying? So even though their room, it might not look as pleasing to the eye, they are getting all the educational bits in their room. You know what I'm saying? As they sleep, 2 + 2, they open their eyes. May. Do you get what I'm saying?
2 + 2, I did May.
No, because the days of the week. Yeah, you know you have to teach your kids all of this.
I know.
Months of the year. I never deeped it.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. But 5, how would you want us to handle discipline if our child breaks a rule? So should the consequences be firm or more focused on talking things through?
No.
So how do you?
I would merge them both, and it's possible.
Okay.
Children, it don't like it. It's not about like a child's brain. Yes, they are smart, but a child's brain can only take so much. That's why we enforce rules. You need to be firm, But then, so I feel like for me, I'd be firm. Once we've resolved the behavioral issue, we'll talk about it. But I'm not going to be talking to you as you're chucking plates across the room. No.
Yeah.
I'm picking you up, I'm carrying you to the corner, I'll do my thing, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
What's your thing that you would do?
Those that know.
What is it? You're not hitting anyway.
I didn't say hit. Do you know when you work with kids, it's scary. You told them, oh, I'll call your dad or your mum. They're staring at you like, okay. Scared, yeah. Yeah, I think you'd be like firm. I think the talking should come before. If nothing changes, firm.
Yeah.
Then after.
Yeah.
But talking alone doesn't always work. With every child anyways.
Yeah. What kind of environments do you want our children to grow up in? For example, do you want our child to be like a curious child, or someone creative or independent, or someone who has structure, or something else?
I don't know if it's because I'm autistic, but I had all of the things that you just described.
Yeah.
I had it all. I was curious. I was creative. I also liked my structure. Like, I liked things done at a certain time. Obviously, back then I didn't understand why, because obviously I only got diagnosed this year. I think curious. I don't know. I just feel like children that are introduced to books early, they're just so special.
Yeah.
They have imagination. Like, they just see the world in a different
Literally,
way.
that's what I said.
They
It
really
like
do.
even
They
my
really do.
sister, like I use my sister as an example. Remember when you came to the house that time and she was like literally telling stories on the spot, literally because she uses her imagination. She's very imaginative. Even when I came out to her, like remember her response, like way above like
her age, yeah.
above her age. She can draw, she can paint, she can create. She made like a jewelry for me
still
and
have
you. So like she can literally, if you don't give her a phone, I don't think she's going to die because she has like a very creative mind. So would you love me any less?
Huh?
Would you love me any less?
Wait, what just that?
Would you love me any less? Would you love me any less?
What does that mean?
Would you not love me how you used to love me?
I still love you.
You still love me?
Yeah, it won't change.
That's why the fact that I'm a lesbian.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. It's not my choice.
Oh, you're going to make me cry.
I don't mind.
Oh, you're so sweet. Do you know anybody that is?
And now my friend's fifth cousin is.
Your best cousin? Now your sister. Daddy knows though.
Daddy knows.
Other question? What other questions do you want me to ask?
I don't know.
Kiss. I love you.
Love you.
I appreciate your support.
My chicken nuggets! Come back!
You know, on Instagram, I saw a mum, right? It was her son, innit? It was time to tie Brady's hair. He was playing with like a Play-Doh and a toy.
Yeah.
No screen time.
Yeah.
Let children be bored.
Yeah. That's exactly what I said.
Let children be
bored.
Sometimes I'll be bored and then it's okay to be bored.
Yeah.
It's okay.
That's literally what I said. Like, allow children to be bored because that's when they'll start to use their imagination.
Growing up with books, I feel like books teaches you, I feel like all the things that we're trying to teach kids through, like we're trying to teach kids about empathy. Children learn that through books. We're trying to teach kids how to be this and that. I learned empathy at a young age because books, when you read books, yeah, not everyone in the story has a happy life.
Yeah.
Every book you read, you are meeting a new person, new storyline. You're immersing yourself in different, like you're having different life experiences.
Yeah.
So you're learning empathy.
Exactly.
You get it?
Yeah.
It's okay for people to be bored. I'm trying to teach myself that it's okay to be bored.
Yeah.
And that's what we've lost.
What kind of activities would you introduce? Like, would you want our children to have?
Well, I don't like mess. But like, I wish that we'd have like a big garden that have like sandbox or a water tray, Play-Doh corner, things with their hands, like kids, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Museums, libraries.
Yeah. As a child, I really used to go to libraries and...
Is it?
Yeah, I told you that. But I used to garden as a child because we had like a farm in our house. Like, we've always had farms. Like, we have like mango trees, soursop, like so many things that we used to grow in our back garden, like even down to corn. When it's corn season, we would plant the corn seed, waiting for the season to come so that when it grows, we can have corn in our backyard. So we even have a gardener, so we follow the gardener and do it. My dad would say that we should follow the gardener and do it. Then it felt like punishment.
I love that it teaches kids how like patience.
Yeah.
And growth.
It felt like punishment, but like growing up, I'm realizing it's literally not punishment. It's literally like part of life. But then as a child, you're like, oh, I don't want to do this. We have a gardener. Why can't the gardener do this? Why can't the gardener water the plants? Why do we have to do it? But my dad would shout and make sure that you follow, you help to cook. You're in the kitchen to cook. And I hated cooking as a child so much. I hated cooking. I hated being in the kitchen. And my dad would be shouting, why are you when the cook is in the kitchen and you're here? To be fair, I didn't learn how to cook at home.
It's helped. Oh, I
didn't learn how to cook at home because I hated it. So I'll just sit on the fridge and
like, how did you learn how to cook then?
I just winged it. I started when I moved to Lagos and I was living by myself. I had my own house, but my boyfriend used to cook for me that time. And the cooks, they liked me. So I'll just be on the fridge, sitting on the fridge, and we'll be having conversations and laughing. But they'll cook everything. When my dad comes, I'll jump down, act like I'm also helping. Sometimes I'll attempt to cook and
think that you're doing him, but it's yourself. You know
but don't you enjoy my food?
Yeah, I do.
Exactly. So, but there are times where I would attempt to cook.
Lasagna.
That one you're cooking for me. I'm going to limit phone times.
Okay, but what age? Because I feel like no child before the age of 11 or 12 needs a phone.
Like, exactly. Like, personally, you're not going to have a phone till you're 15. But
that's a stretch.
That's a stretch.
That's a big stretch. 15.
What? How's it a stretch?
2026. We don't know what life will be like in 6 years' time. There might even be like cars that can like talk. Do you know what I'm saying? You don't know. I'm being for real. You don't know.
Okay. Till you're 13. You won't have a phone till you're 13. Is that too late?
I don't know. That's the thing because...
Okay, till you're 12. My sister has a phone and she's 10. Okay, till you're 12. Till you're 12. You won't have a phone till you're 12 years old. What do you need a phone for?
Right.
Except maybe if you're not home, but we'll be there.
I'll take them back to the old age. You'll get a phone, but it's the phones that go like this.
The flip phone.
Yeah.
And flip phones are coming back in style.
Listen, that little boy I looked at him like, wow. He looked at 12, his phone, he was playing Snake. I'm like, yeah.
That's how
you
it
just
should
tell
be.
that the only two contacts he has is mum, dad, maybe his granddad and his grandmum, that's it.
Exactly.
There was nothing on the phone, but he kept on flicking. I'm thinking, bro, there's nothing on your phone. He was carrying it with pride on that bus.
Yeah. So does this make us strict parents?
The thing is that people can do what they want to do in their house.
Yeah.
But you know what? Yeah, what was scaring me? Do you know when you go to parties? Because with me, how my parents were, I learned a lot of bullshit from other children. When you go to parties and the adults are in one section and the kids are in like a room.
Yeah.
I was exposed to so much shit that like I wasn't exposed to at home. So that's where it's like, cool. You might not let your child have like a phone, but I don't know, but for me, I'm going to be cautious around my children, around other children as well, because you don't know what other children are exposed to.
True.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We underestimate how much children can also like influence. Bro,
yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I want to be strict. I feel like I just want productive people who go out into the world and be productive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like give you the best start to life. Because how can I chuck you on the internet at such a young age and let the internet like mold you? You don't even have a chance to even be who you are.
Who you are.
Cartoons as well. They will watch cartoons that I used to watch growing up.
Yeah.
Because I looked into it. Cartoons when like we were growing up here were less stimulating.
Yeah.
And even when it's less stimulating, less like flashy pictures, less changes, less.
Yeah.
Now it's just pa 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 pa.
Yeah. And it actually teaches like empathy and all of that.
Now that you watch it back, it looks a bit slow, like it's lagging, but it's not. It's going at and with the colours aren't so bright. There's like
level of calmness.
Pastel like. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So guys,
That's the end.
Everything.
If you want Jewel to make a podcast, let her know.
I'm actually working on that.
I think you should. I feel like I'd be an amazing host. I would ground the conversations. Co-host. Joke. No, don't worry.
You want to be a co-host?
I'll be like behind the camera. I'll support behind the camera.
Yeah, she's always supporting behind the camera.
I do have shit to say, but I don't know about being in front of the camera. It's not my thing. Thank you guys. Hope you found this conversation engaging. I hope it allowed you to also introspect on your own selves, how you intend to bring up your own children. Yeah. Till next time.
So should we say no to gentle parenting?
Hey, no.
Okay, no. Train your child how you want to train your child.
Yeah.
I'll train my children how I want to train my own children.
Yeah, if you raise your child to be gentle, I don't agree with it. Don't agree with that.
Thanks, babe.
Oh, you're welcome. It's fun.
It was funny. I love you. I didn't hear you.
Bitch, my voice is gone. I said I love you.
Don't call me a bitch.
Sorry, Queen, Egyptian. That's the vibe I'm getting.
You're getting the vibe, Abby?
Yeah.
Anyways. Alright, thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. If you stopped by, I'm actually taking this hair out today. I want to cut here and see how it will look, but I should not take it out.
The length is nice like this.
It's messy, like it's a lot here on me. Like it's just stressing me out. It being on my shoulder is messing me. It's like, you know, it's disturbing me, yeah.
That's ADHD.
It's okay. Not everything is ADHD.
No, it's true. It's true though. Till next time.
Don't show yourself on camera.
No.
She's camera shy.
Before, yeah, do you know when you had one case of, now you have the whole world. You want me to come on camera like this? No, man.
Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time. Bye-bye. Hi guys, that's my girlfriend at the back. Girlfriend, say hi. Girlfriend is very, very ill. Like, ill. They have cough. They have cold. What else do you have? Asthmatic, celiac. What else?
That's it.
Sciatica. What else? But you know what? I still love. Till the ends of the earth. That's my sugar mama. My sugar mommy. Yo, I got this new microphone and I'm trying to set it up. It's a DJI, so I'm going to test it with you guys if you guys can see. I'm still going to use this one with the recorder, but let's just see. And yo, I don't know, the light is not on. Should I?
Yeah.
Is it nice?
Can you see? Turn on the light.
Turn it on.
No, I need to lie down.
So the light is on. It's still nice with the light on, but I think I like it without the light.
Turn off the light because it's early, so you have nice natural light.
This is so cool. Baby, your girlfriend is so beautiful, you know?
Yeah.
You don't sound enthusiastic.
No, I'm struggling to breathe, but I can't, you know what I mean?
Is what it is.
Really?
Well, I don't need you to tell me I'm beautiful. I know I'm beautiful.
I just can't breathe.
Anyways, guys, I'm about to test it. So I got this DJI microphone. I'm going to put it here. Or should I hold it? Because people always hold it. Either I'll hold it. My normal distance to use like chopstick. And then I'm also going to, I think this is a receiver. I'm going to turn it on. And then when I turn it on, let's do something. So I have connected it. So let me turn this off and on and listen to the sound. Because I've only connected it to my phone before, which I like. Well, let's see. Hey, welcome to my channel. It's your girl, Ju. Okay. That's my girlfriend. She came visiting yesterday, but she's sick. Yeah, she's sick.
Look, man, please. Let me blur, please.
You say like you blow in peace. Like what do you mean? Oh yeah, blow her nose. She is fucking sick and everything, but wait. But guys, that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you reached the end, kindly like, share and subscribe if you care. And I really do hope you care. Hopefully this hair is not crazy by the time I look at this hair. Like, oh my god, like, yo. I have gone through the ringers with my hair. I'm not even gonna lie. First of all, you all know that I had like the normal braids and this hair was long. Then I made it into layers and I kept that just for a day. Then I made it into 2 layers and I kept that for another day. Then I made it into like bangs with layers. Then I wanted to take it out and I said, let me just see how it look with bob. So I cut this side, and when I wanted to cut it, I was like, you know what? It actually looks good. And I was on the phone with my friend, and I was like, oh my God, I think this hair is nice. I took a picture, I sent it to them, and they're like, oh my God, that's nice. I was like, I know, right? And then I now cut this. I was like, you know what? This is what I'm going to take for like 2 more weeks before I take the hair out. And I am so obsessed. I do not know why it does not look, I don't know if it, I hope it looks good on camera, but in real life, this hair ate, like, I feel like an anime character right now. Yeah, I feel like an anime character. And this is how it feels when you're creative and you have a creative mind, okay? You explore several ways that something can come out, if that makes sense. But guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do hope you guys enjoyed this video, honestly speaking, and I hope you guys enjoyed the interview with my girlfriend. And let me know what you guys think about that whole interview. Please remember, okay, remember to be respectful in the comment section, because some of you are not respectful. Some of you are not respectful. Be respectful in the comment section, please. Thank you guys so much. What do you guys think about my makeup? Like, I have been so obsessed with smoky eyes of late. You'll see. Yo, please do not mind my brows. They're still brassy. I bleached my brows. I think it was on Friday, but they're still brassy and I got burnt. So I'm waiting for them to heal. Then I'll put the next layer of bleach on it. Unfortunately, the purple shampoo did not help. The adult dye did not help. So I have to put another layer of bleach on it for it to come out to be perfect, which I think I'm going to do today after I wash my face. But guys, thank you so much. Let me know what you guys think about this video. Kindly like, share, subscribe if you care. Let me know what you think about my makeup. I am so obsessed with this makeup. Like, yo, the eyes are literally my favorite thing. I think I'm perfecting my smoky eyes, because smoky eyes to me are like left, right, front, and center. But for 3 days in a row, I have gotten like these smoky eyes, especially like my smoky bottom eyes. I am super, super, super obsessed. Let me know what you guys think. And yeah, I am working on a video with Gabi Hannah. I've been working on it during my 1 week break and I am nowhere done. I just hope to be done this week. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but I just hope to be done this week, because that girl is a very controversial person. I remember when she was trending around the time with James Charles and all of that, and I just never gravitated towards her. She always rubbed me the wrong way, and it's just so crazy how me researching into her, my feelings are like validated. Like, yo, I have a very good intuition. My feelings are like validated, and it's just so crazy. Like, yeah. Yeah. Currently, I'm listening to the 3-hour phone conversation that she had with Jesse Smiles. Somebody posted it. So I've been listening to that bit by bit, and I'm almost done. But I'm still like curating my notes and all of that. So that will be my next video. And also there is a couple that I'm also working on, and nobody has spoken about this couple at all. This couple, they are not controversial openly. They're not openly controversial, but I've been following them for a long time, and I've realized that what I've been feeling, some people have been feeling it too. It's mostly on Reddit, but obviously you guys are much more logical. Reddit people, they do not have pity for anybody, and I'm thinking of working on them. To be fair, I have started working on them for a long time, but now I feel like much more validated in my thinking, and I'm like, oh my God. So I'm working on them. They will come out probably like towards the end of the month. But I'm working on that case, or they'll come out in April. And I was meant to release a video on Pearl, no, I'm not going to do that any longer. I recorded the video twice. The first time was completed and I was editing, but I just got irritated. Not with my work, with Pearl. And I was like, okay, you know what? Let me record again. And I recorded it on Sunday. That was the first video I recorded, and I recorded Vidya. So Pearl was the first video that I recorded, and I just stopped halfway and I was like, yeah, I'm not speaking about this bitch. I'm so sorry for calling her a bitch, but she's just, I'm not speaking about her. Like, speaking about Pearl, researching Pearl is very draining. I realized that it really drained me. It drained my soul, and I'm very cautious about like my energy. And yeah, I just knew it wasn't gonna work. But anyways, now my battery is giving me warning that the battery is almost dead. And so guys, I'm going to leave you guys. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and I really do appreciate each and every one of you. And that being said, see you next week. Bye. Also, now I'll be taking 1 week off every month. So help me God. Because last week that I took 1 week off, apart from the research and all of that, I was doing random things. I cut my hair. I did things that I would just not do if I was occupied with work. So yeah. But thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, stay pretty, sit pretty, stop being a menace to the society, a menace to the society, and see you next week. Stay out of trouble, y'all. Bye.